Hey, beautiful people. So the May is with us, and alongside it, Beltane. Just beautiful. As I often say, that these doorways, these gateways, these portals, these thresholds are beyond a moment in time. They are a tide of time. And it's interesting because over the last couple of years, I've been feeling like there's something about the wheel of the year that I'm not quite seeing. There was this sense of, I was feeling like a sense of discord to it, like a sense of, I was feeling slightly out of alignment with it. There was something that I was missing. There was a story within it. And then randomly, as we often say, it's never by chance, it's by design. I got told a beautiful story about the roots of the wheel of the year, and I thought, oh my god, it's like I've been reaching for that, and it's almost like as if it's been reflected back, as if it's arrived. Never by chance, by design. And it was by a wonderful guy called Dan the Bard, who's a musician and a wonderful storyteller. And I've known him for many years, but never ever heard this story. And he was saying about the roots of the Wheel of the Year. The Wheel of the Year, actually, the modern day Wheel of the Year, is around 60 years old. Now, the old Celtic fire festivals are absolutely ancient, which is Samhain, Imbolc, Beltane, and Lammas, or as I call it, Loathfest. They are ancient, and of course we've got all these other dates. So the story goes that there was two guys, one by the name of Ross Nichols, who was the founder of OBOD, which is the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. So Ross Nichols, the founder, and then you had Gerald Gardner, known as the founding father of modern day witchcraft. Now, they were holding ceremonies together up on Primrose Hill, and they'd do these ceremonies, and then they would the story goes, they would retire to a pub and sit round the fire and share stories and share ideas and journey away. And at the time, the Order and Ross Nichols was honouring and celebrating the old Celtic fire festivals, and then Gerald Gardner, he was celebrating the spring equinox, the autumn equinox, the summer solstice and the winter solstice. All right, and then they had this idea of fusing them together, and there was the modern day Wheel of the Year being born. Absolutely, what a beautiful story, and it completely totally made sense to me. I was feeling this deep sense of gravity towards the old Celtic fire festivals, and I have this real powerful anchoring for winter solstice, and it just completely made complete sense to me. It just completely, illuminated at some level what I was feeling, and it just kind of brought that to a place of deep rest. Incredible, beautiful, and it's lovely to know the roots of what we are honouring. So for me, those old ancient Celtic fire festivals stripped back really do talk to me, and I have just such a fondness for many reasons for winter solstice. But what a beautiful story. So here we are, Beltane. And some people are like, oh my gosh, this is not Beltane. It's so dreary. No, do you know what? It is so green out there. It is so bursting with so much life, and the bird songs, and those days are longer. Sure, we like, the other morning, people heading off up onto the top of that hill there in mist, celebrating Beltane. They're watching the Morris men, and after a glass of ale served out of a jug straight to a glass, and bacon sandwiches all before 7 a.m. It's absolutely beautiful and magical. Life is absolutely to be lived. And I think the more I kind of move into these stories, because there's two veins or threads or roots, two roots to these stories. You've got the medicine stories that really are really raw and absolutely pack a punch, and kind of really embody deep teachings. Even the story we shared in the last few days around shadows, these are really raw and powerful medicine stories. And then you've got the otherworldly stories that pack teachings, but they're mischievous. They're really, really mischievous, and they're fun. And very joyful, but they're very, very mischievous stories because they're otherworldly, and they have characters like the she-wolf, or the new story that's coming, Coat of Stars, featuring a medicine woman that has an encounter with the Fae, and then on her birthday, which is Midsummer's Eve, she has a party with a very, very unexpected guest that then dances with the whole village. These are really mischievous, playful stories. And I think the more that I move into that world and kind of bridging both of those aspects, the more I see that, more deeply life, like grab hold of it like you did when you were a child. That cosmic child coming through in what I'm doing, which is really, really beautiful. So, I have a story for you as it's Beltane. This was penned, very short story. This was penned at the beginning of the year, and I really do feel that this story really does fit Beltane. And I've got a lovely little announcement for you afterwards. So the story itself, there in this beautiful, beautiful book, penned into, the story itself is called The Standing Stones. Because at this time, many people were making pilgrimage to those ancient and old places. So the Standing Stones, when kind and wise giants wandered and roamed the land, the old woman of winter sat spinning dreams on her spinning wheel, deep in her cave, as the people of the land drifted through the dreaming and winter's lullaby. Yet her sister, not so kind, was sat next to her fire casting nightmares. What a meanie. What a meanie. In doing so, she had cursed the land. An icy cold winter arrived that never left. I think some people will be looking out the window thinking, geez, has she been casting nightmares? The winter's not leaving. Turning the giants to stone. So this icy cold winter arrived that never left, turning the giants to stone. The trees lost their leaves and everything turned to rock. Except two ravens that flew across the ground, across the land, gathering tales and stories. And the king of the giants, who had just escaped the Dark Sister's spell and Winter's grip. And he grabbed his mallet with all of his might and slammed it into the ground. And the spell shattered into a million pieces and broke instantly. The trees budded and leaved, the valley turned green, and the whole landscape came alive, all at once. Yet the Dark Sister was so furious, she let out this piercing, blood-curdling scream that for a moment stopped time itself and turned the Giant King into stone. She's a right meanie. Yet, no matter how hard she tried or what she'd done, she could not reverse all the beautiful life that had blossomed and grown. So, the next time you come across a standing stone or a stone circle, a circle of stones, know in your heart that these are sleeping giants. Beautiful story. Had so much fun bringing that to life, and at the time it was young Tristan's bedtime story. I'd read it to him, and we'd have him giggling and laughing, which is really, really, really beautiful. And that's what some of these stories are about, are like captivating our imagination and kind of bringing that magic back into life, you know, back into the world, you know, for adults too. You know, I think that, you know, Spirit is saying, it's like, you know, in the times that we're living in, it's almost like joy has become a luxury, and it really shouldn't be. So, you know, I'm really seeing that storytelling can work with those deep, raw medicine stories, but it can also captivate that childlike magic that we once had and bring it to the forefront. So I have an invitation for you. We have a story, The Coat of Stars, and a really beautiful, immersive storytelling experience, which is a walk that is going to be on Midsummer's Eve. And it's going to be a circular walk that is going to be really immersed in local folktale. We wander out across an old trackway, which was the remains of an old Roman road, which means that it's a ley line, towards a really special place called Herb Wood. We're going to slip through a magical doorway, drop into the liminal, resting a while under this most beautiful, majestic oak tree that's a very otherworldly place, where the field meets a hedge that meets a wood, a very, very in-between place. You know, these experiences slow us down rather than speed us up, and the walk ignites a pathway, I feel, to reconnection, to repair to ourselves, to the stories, and to that natural natural world. And you know, a Midsummer story really does weave together such magic, which happens to be on a full mead moon. So rightly so, we will weave a little bit of hedgefolk druidic magic along the way, sharing some folklore around the trees and plants, and maybe a little bit of foraging too. You know, I truly feel we have a deep, rich heritage of deep mystical knowledge, and wisdom and direct experience that courses through her veins, and these stories re-spark some of that. So the story itself, as I was sharing, is Dakota Stars, featuring an encounter with the Fae and an old medicine woman called Biddy Early, who hosts this otherworldly party on Midsummer's Eve, and the most unexpected guest arrives and ends up dancing with the entire village. And there's a PS: the fastest way to travel is by candlelight. So if you feel inspired to join us, we've got limited spaces. It's going to be limited to 9. It's on Midsummer's Eve, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and then we'll come back to an inn. We will be able to sit outside the inn. You know, if the weather is good and kind to us, the moon will be rising, and we can have an ale, and there's going to be a little bit of a magical marketplace, staff swans, herb bundles, collection of art and prints, and it just be a really beautiful magical way to mark Midsummer. And as I say, it is on a full moon, mead moon, and we'll have a tipple of mead on the way round as well, maybe underneath the big majestic oak when we tell and share the main story. So I'm going to leave all that with you. If you are inspired, and you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be links within the video description itself. If you're watching this via Insta, head up in the profile, hit the storytelling link, and you will be able to book in. As I say, there are 9 places. My anticipation is, as I begin to share that out into the world, they will book up fast. So if you feel inspired to and you're local, come and join us and drop in on that. Until next time, sending you all so much love, and as always, keep shining.